This is an old business, walking slowly over land with an appreciation of its immediacy to the senses and in anticipation of what lies hidden in it.
Just in the centre of this shot is a very straight line. If I do this, hey, there it is. That's the dam. This is what I'm looking for.
The public doesn't want to hear about more statistical studies, more computer models, more projections. What they need is a believable, understandable piece of visual evidence, something that grabs you in the guts. Like all running water, it wanted to turn everything into the image of its constantly undulating form. It worried at the riverbanks, hollowing them, rounding them into oxbows. Left to itself, a river will always meander. This is how rivers grow longer and slow themselves down and hold more water, make themselves more interesting and pleasing to the human eye, as well as the creatures that live in them. The natural meanders, oxbows and flood meadows slow and diminish the impact of sudden storms by storing the floodwater. They also provide far richer natural habitat for all the river creatures that crave the shelter of uneven places and all that is haphazard about the river's whimsical process. David Bick. If it is a closer communion with our remote ancestors that we seek, science can no more guide us than program notes can convey the mastery of a Haydn symphony or the profound enigma of a late Beethoven quartet. In submission, we must venture forth in hills where the old men laboured, and where a sense of our own mortality in all eternity is never far away. The final communion may elude us, but the spirit gains enlightenment by the endeavour.
Just about there, through that oak tree, you can see the Havold Hotel, which is at Devil's Bridge. And down here is part of the Devil's Bridge Falls, or the, Rhieda Mynach. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? There's the river. There's a bit of deciduous woodland, a bit of pine.
Perhaps more than any other, the age that followed was to reach through time and affect the face and fortune of the British Isles. This it was to do by creating a substance, coal, which at a certain moment in their historical evolution men sought as eagerly as food, so eagerly that they were ready to leave their habitat and become pale-skinned burrowing creatures coming to surface only at night, to move away from the pleasant places and muddle their dwellings around the grimy entrance to their tunnels.
This is the Mynach River. This river, somewhere down here, collides with the Rheidol and sends it into Aberystwyth. Otherwise, up until this point, the river that I'm following, the Rheidol, is just going north to south. This sends it out west to the sea. I just got really wet up there, up on the top, right on the top, right on there. I don't think it rained for any other reason other than to get me wet. It stopped as soon as I turned back and got under the trees. As soon as I was under the trees, But you know, when I got out onto the bare exposed land, there he is! Get him wet, get him wet. And now I'm wet. Look at that. Look at that. Ugh. This is where I am. I'm not strictly sure where it is. Sort of in a field. It's not so bad. I don't mind, but it just... the timing.
It is only the pathetic shortness of human life that gives each individual a sense of permanence of his background. The land we walk upon has been under the sea many times, and it will be submerged again. No generation has been more caringly knowledgeable than ours about its countryside and wildlife, or more devoted to its gardens and pets, yet none has been more relentless in the destruction of its environment. Fraser Harrison, The Living Landscape. Because mankind can circumvent evolutionary law, it is incumbent upon him to develop another law to abide by if he wishes to survive, to not outstrip his food base. He must learn restraint. He must derive some other wiser ways of behaving towards the land, because herein is the accomplishment of the wisdom that for centuries he has aspired to. The risk we take is of finding our final authority in the metaphors rather than in the land. To inquire into the intricacies of a distant landscape, then, is to provoke thoughts about one's own interior landscape and the familiar landscapes of memory. The land urges us to come around to an understanding of ourselves.
My sort of day off, I couldn't for the life of me think of a thing that I wanted to photograph, and the weather's not perfect for it.
Painting is a science, and should be pursued as an inquiry into the laws of nature. Why then may not a landscape be considered a branch of natural philosophy, of which pictures are but experiments? John Constable.
But it's quite warm, balmy even, a balmy 17 degrees, late September. But I'm in the Rydal Valley, and it's kind of, you can see it's kind of U-shaped. I've been reading about the geology, and I've learned that U-shaped valleys more often than not carved by glaciers.
Ooh. Strip a person or the land of dignity, and you can direct any scheme you wish against them or it with impunity and with the best of motives. To some, this kind of efficiency is a modern technique, lamentable but not evil. For others, it is a debilitating degradation, a loss of integrity and spirit that no kind of economic well-being can ever justify. In the face of a rational scientific approach to the land, which is more widely sanctioned, esoteric insights and speculations are frequently overshadowed, and what is lost is profound. The land is like poetry. It is inexplicably coherent. It is transcendent in its meaning, and it has the power to elevate a consideration of human life.
Well, here we are again at the fish ladder. You probably can't tell by looking at those falls, but just to the side of it, all down that side, that's all icicles. And if we look down here, that, the bridge, frozen river, it's so cool. Well, it's so cool, it's ice. We've just had a massive cold front sweep across from the east. The beast from the east, they were calling it, on the BBC. I have been out at the mines. I thought, well, you don't want to miss this chance to try and capture some ice.
For us, in addition to our own noise, the racket of cities that must in fact penetrate the surrounding country, that of animals and birds and insects, there is a fine tissue of imperceptible sounds, vegetation growing, leaves and flowers moving, all the stirrings and growths all the stirrings of growth and decay.
In the lighting studio at the School of Art, testing. So up there is the projector, really great projector. These speakers are really bassy. They're not going to be on ladders. There's my computer, and
we have turned all the animals and elements of the natural world into objects. We manipulate them to serve the complicated ends of our destiny. To make this separation is analogous to cutting oneself off to light or water.
there's my pictures. About a month before it all goes up, so I made good time, maybe, getting in here and testing the equipment. My main thing is that it's very basic, but it's quite nice ambient glow on the walls from the colours, which is nice. And the other thing I can't do, I need to watch out for, is people doing that. It's raining now though. It's raining. I've been out. I was shooting for about 2 hours, cycling for a while. Not too cold though, considering.
Sciences are occasionally so bound by rational analysis, or so weary of the metaphor, that they renounce and denounce anthropomorphism as a kind of intellectual cancer, instead employing it as a tool of comparative inquiry, which is perhaps the only way the mind works, that parallelism we finally call narrative. We can no longer go on treating nature as present-day societies do, as a sort of supermarket or self-service cafeteria. Nature is our common heritage, which is being imperiously plundered, but which we must conserve, since the entire universe has been working for 15,000 million years to the point we've now reached. The latest arrangements of the world order, ruled by capital under the regime of globalization and neoliberalism, have brought fantastic material progress, but the social effect is perverse. The exclusion of workers on a massive scale, and even of entire regions of the world which are of little interest for the accumulation of capital. The challenge is to make people see one another as members of a great earthly family, to find their way back to the community of living beings, the planetary and cosmic community. There is a danger that the culture of the satisfied will close in on its consumerist egoism and ignore the devastation of the poor masses of the world. Right now I've got technical issues. I'm going to get them sorted, like ladders aren't the issue, base is the issue. Base. We can't live in this world without water, because no two cells can divide without being in water. We spend the first 9 months of our lives in our mother's womb, inside the ocean. It is a reconstruction of the ocean where all life has to take place. Even inside plants, you cannot have cell division without it happening in water, so water is everywhere. If that water link would ever break, allowing a cell to rupture and dry out, then life would end. So I think it's a fascinating thought that you and I both represent an unbroken link of divided cells in water at all times for the past 3 billion years. Well, I've just taken what I think is probably going to be the last photo on this project. Picture of Jill and Mike. Portrait for the credits. And I'm not sure how that makes me feel. 2 years of taking pictures up the valley. Probably about 20,000 photos I've taken. What you can see here is where earlier on this summer it was really hot and it just caught fire. It caught fire, and I tell you that they were very lucky that there was a hydroelectric reservoir just at the foot of that hill, so that the helicopters could douse it, because it was burning for about a week and it got pretty hairy. It was coming around the hill and over the top towards the houses. Just at the foot of this one here, this is where Di and Nancy live, and behind me is where Jill and Mike live. But yeah, today I'm literally dotting I's and crossing T's, and I was thinking when I was sort of like at home, I thought, should I go up the valley today or should I go tomorrow? Quite comfortable at home and the way it usually is, but as soon as I'm here it's great. I love it. It's really nice. They probably don't get a lot of sunshine in winter, but it's not winter, mind you. It's not hot and sunny, which is probably better for cycling as well, isn't it? Anyway, waffle, time to go.